Hello. Today we're going to talk about a misconception. Well, somewhat a misconception. It depends on how you want to look at engines. One of the engines that we have is a 351 stroker, and that's our friend's car, not ours personally, just a buddy's car. And what this engine has is a 351 ported steel head, and the engine is cubed out to be 427. Well, it might be a little bigger than that because people don't always tell you exactly what they have. And we know it to be at least a 427. So you would think that that car would not run too well with a ported Windsor head on it. So this car is a full weight vehicle, and it runs naturally aspirated 1050s. So this might change people's mind a little bit about wanting to debate me and say that a Windsor head is too small. So then people's been pretty decent accepting what we do, and they're starting to actually say, well, they have the car, it runs what they say it runs. So that's good for the guys that are on board. What do you do about the people that aren't on board and don't know the difference? If they haven't watched somebody like me and they have other people telling them completely the opposite. Like a fella on YouTube that has 100,000 plus subscribers telling you guys that might not know the difference not to waste your time with a 351 Windsor head because they're no good. They don't flow enough to make any power. And then he goes on to tell you that, well, this is what I've been told. Secondhand information, pumping it out to all you wonderful people on YouTube, and it's wrong. Now, I will say this. In the real world, you take this car that goes 1050s with a ported Windsor head. Chances are, if you were to put a good head on that same combination, because it has a decent camshaft in it, 600 plus lift roller, solid roller, and Victor intake, or Victor Jr., whatever, fellas, you got my drift, I think. Chances are that engine would probably pick up a half a second on a rule of thumb. So I had all this stuff wrote down for you, and I had a few different comparisons of what a 302 and a 351 Windsor would run with a ported Windsor head. So I'm going to read a couple of them to you. And these are both cars that are street vehicles. They had stock short blocks, and they both were everyday driving cars. And so we're going to go over this. This will give you guys a clue what you can do. So one of the first things I have written on my notes here is, let me see, baked lasagna and blue cheese dressing. And that's not right. That's what happens when you leave your notepad lay around with your car information on it, and then you have your beautiful better half order food. So, getting back to my notes up here, we have a 302 with Victor Jr. intake, stock bottom end, and it had an Anderson N41 cam, and the car ran 1170s, and that was right out of the gate. If the guy would have worked with the car a little bit more, I think it had another 2/10 left in it, but he didn't keep the car that long. So that's that combination. And well, I told you I had 3 combinations here. Actually, there was 2, and I told you the one already with the stroker engine, because I got my mind a little bit sidetracked here. My little dog's prancing around here. So anyway, on another rule of thumb, guys, it's like this here. Any decent camshaft that you pick out, whether it be the alphabet cam, which I really don't care for, or a decent Anderson cam, or a trick flow cam, any of them camshafts on an average build with a stock bottom end, and this is with a Windsor or a 302. Between a 302 and a 351 is usually with a standard compression, factory compression, we'll say, and the steel heads ported is usually about 2 to 4 tenths, depending on what camshaft you use. The more aggressive the cam, then usually you're talking a little bit more of a drastic difference. So my point is this: if you compare the same type build from a 302 to a Windsor, you're usually talking on an average basis of 2 tenths from what I've seen in the past with all my friends, and pretty close camshafts and things like that. And usually, believe it or not, the 302 will leave on a Windsor on a starting line. That depends on the driver, converters, if the car's a stick, and of course mostly on the driver. So we'll throw that in there, because I know the thing I leave out is what the guy will pick up on YouTube here to rate me a little note. So anyway, this is just a little trying to keep it on the light side of this, because I've had a few guys get a hold of me and say they had the Windsor heads, and should I use the Windsor heads over a GT40 head? And what comes down to this: the guy had a pair of heads already done that were 351 Windsor heads, and he was wondering if it'd be better to go with the GT40. So if you were able to go 10 seconds with a pair of 351 heads, well, you're not going to do anything different with the other heads. They're going to be within a couple tenths of each other on the same type level. Now, I'm not going to say for sure exactly what the time difference would be, because I don't know what you have done to your vehicle, what gear, if you're an 1/8 mile, quarter mile, or what's going on with your car weight-wise, and what combination, of course. Because one guy's going to have a dual plane intake, the other guy's going to have a Super Victor intake, one guy's going to have a carburetor too big, the other guy's going to have the right combination, and that's why you have one guy said, well, my friend went 11.0 with that combination, my other friend, he tried that combination, he ran 13s, that stuff doesn't work. Well, if you have a car that's very slow with a ported forward head, then there's only a couple reasons. It's the wrong combination, or the head's ported poorly, or something's drastically wrong in one sense or another. So I thought I'd throw that in there, and with that, I hope this is helpful to somebody, just to give you an idea, right, what you can do with factory stuff. So I'm never going to try to say that a stock Ford head will outrun an aftermarket head, but I will say this: with the right combination, you can take a stock ported, a factory ported Ford head and the right combo and outrun a car that has aftermarket heads. How do I know? Look my son up on YouTube. You'll see it. Stroker engines. Anybody don't know that is not familiar with my channel, you come across this video, just put in Grover Boys Racing with my son Adam Grover, and as I always tell you guys, the proof is in the pudding, and the motor is always a stock bottom end. So the only thing we usually have is the ported heads, the E7 heads. So I don't want to say the same song and dance all the time. I'm just trying to lay the information out in case I have new subscribers that come along and they're not familiar with what we do here. So, and it will give them an idea, and they can look back on some of the previous videos I've done, and then they can see. But once in a while you'll have a guy come along, and as you know, you'll see me for the first time, this gorgeous face right here, and you'll say, what's that guy talking about? Is he full of crap, or do they really know what they're doing with that stuff? So that's up to you to make that decision. And but I just want to try to cut out a little bit of work for anybody that's coming along and catching old Terry here for the first time. And my goal is always to help, fellas, and it's never a debate, because that would be a mistake with me, because I'm pretty bullheaded, and when I have something in this thick skull here, I usually don't change my mind, no matter how smart the other fellow is. So that's just me, guys. Love me, hate me, adore me, but on the other side, fellas, I appreciate you and taking time out of your day to watch. And hopefully, guys, we'll be back in the garage soon. We have the 55 Chevy we're working on a different note, and we have a few surprises with that, and it's going to be dealing with some factory stock racing, and we're going to improve the engine as we go, and you'll have to tune in to watch that, because my son Adam is going to also do some segments on that, and I don't want to take away from what he might be saying on his channel when he's ready to put something out there. So if you're interested in watching a Chevrolet come around and see what you can get out of a stock Chevy engine by adding a few different things to it, the old camera and intake and some tuning, if you're interested in that, then be watching, because we're going to be doing it, guys. So with that, I want to say have a good night, God bless you, and thanks for watching. Take care.